so much for joining me. So in part one, I just want to talk about how you got into racing.
I got into racing. Basically, my mum has a livery yard back in Devon. So I've always ridden ponies and horses from a young age, and we had a pony that was very fast and we didn't really know what to do with her. So we were like, right, we'll try and pony race her. And I got the bug from that, really. I was like, I'm going to be a jockey. I done the 9-week course in Newmarket at the British Racing School, which was very educational, and then they put you in a job. I went to Annabelle Murphy for 2 years, and it's kind of escalated from there, really.
So did you ever have a backup plan at all, or was racing the main goal?
No, I knew when from a young age I was going to work with horses, but I think probably about at 13, 14, that was the aim, was to be a jockey.
So aside from horses, did you have any other hobbies growing up, or was it just mainly horses?
Everybody asks me that now. They're like, oh, do you have any hobbies? It's no, not at all. Horses just takes up my whole life.
Do you remember your first ride, and if so, can you tell us a bit more about it?
I do. I was an amateur, and oh Jesus, a filly called Astralis, she was called, and it was for Joe Hughes, around Lingfield on the Orwell. I think I must have finished about 6th. I was about 5 wide going the whole way around. I just probably wouldn't have given me a ride again, but it was a good experience, and it was one of the best feelings. You know, it was good fun.
Going into racing, was it what you'd expected it to be like, or were there a lot of surprises along the way?
I thought it would be a lot easier, actually. I thought, because obviously I knew how to ride at such a young age, I thought, oh, this would be easy, but that's not the case. I think it's not all about the riding, obviously. You've got to be fit, it's a complete different type of riding, race riding. And also, I think you've got to prove yourself as well and work really hard and be dedicated. And then also on top of it, luckily enough for me, I don't have to worry about my weight. Whereas, you know, some jockeys are a lot taller, they would have to watch what they eat. So yeah, there's been a lot of surprises. It's not what I thought from the outside. I thought jockeys just turn up and ride their horse and it's easy and go home.
Yeah, it's a lot to it. I want to talk a bit more about, you know, how you prepare for racing, but just before we go into that, do you remember your first winner, and tell us about it?
My first winner was on a filly called Chester's Little Gem, for Joe Hughes, actually. And I'd ridden her, I used to ride her out every day, actually, at home, so I knew her inside out. She was a quirky filly. She used to have to go out on her own. To be honest, I didn't really have a clue what I was doing. I think it was like my 9th ride, and I think it was just a case of point and hold on and hope for the best, and she just got up.
What was the feeling like then when you won? Had you realised that you'd won, or was it a bit much to take on for the first time?
I knew that I'd finished in front. I knew that I'd won, but I by accident I'd hit one of the other jockeys with my whip. And he'd finished second to me, and obviously I'd only just started out, so when I came in I was like, oh, they're going to take the race off me, I've hit one of the jockeys by accident. So that's what I was worried about, and obviously everyone was laughing at me and they were like, no, that happens like all the time, don't worry about it. So I was like, oh, okay. So but yeah, I think having my first ride was probably a very, very good feeling, but having my winner, I think if you ask any jockey, they won't forget that day. It's probably one of the best days of their lives up there, definitely.
And I suppose it's like that thing, you get the bug and then you want to keep on going and going and getting in those wins. Yeah. Moving on to now what it's like sort of being a jockey, can you tell us, let's go pre-COVID, can you tell us a bit about what your schedule would be like day to day?
To be honest, we've been quite lucky. Obviously, we have to take precautions at the moment with COVID, but not too much has changed in that respect. Obviously, I'd ride out in the mornings. I'm freelance jockey, so I would go kind of different places every day. I don't go the same place every day. So one day it could be in Lambourne, the next day it could be in Newmarket. It just depends who you're going to be galloping for. So a normal day could start between kind of 4 o'clock or 7 o'clock. Ride out a few lots, and then either if you're evening racing, you can then go home in the afternoon and have a little kip and go off racing, or if you're day racing, you just kick on straight away, go racing. And yeah, more or less you kind of start in the dark and finish in the dark.
Wow. Well, is that most days then, would you say it's a very, very long day?
Yeah, definitely it is, and especially with the driving, because I mean you're driving probably over 3 hours a day easily. 3 hours a day is a good day. But yeah, I mean it's a long day, but the thing is, I think when you do get a spare hour or 2 hours, then most of us would sit down and like have a little afternoon nap.
That's a good idea. Do you like the aspect of going to different places all the time?
I do, yeah. It's yards. It's interesting to see how the yards do things differently, and see all the different gallops. Obviously, Newmarket and Lambourne, the trainers are all using the same gallops. But yeah, no, it is different, and different methods.
If you're riding out of somewhere new, are you sort of expected to know the procedure, or are trainers quite good with explaining how maybe their schedule runs compared to other places?
Yeah, no, they'd be good like that. They'd look after you, and obviously they've got their head lads or head lasses, and the people in the yard, they'd normally look after you and tell you what you're doing and how far the gallop is. And trainers do like their horses gallop differently. Some would be a lot tougher on their horses, whereas others would be a lot easier on their horses. But I think once you've been in there a few times, you get into the routine of it.
Can you say where your favourite place is to ride out?
I can't. I can't say that. I can't say that in case anybody's watching.
Okay.
I love them all. I love riding out everywhere.
That's a good answer.
Yeah.
And I want to talk about your typical day if it was a race day. So I know you said you have like a little nap beforehand, but yeah, your day if it was a race day, how you would prepare for that?
How I'd prepare, obviously riding out, I'd go to the races, I'd get a racing post. Obviously I'd know what I'd be riding anyway, but in a racing post you have all the form, and I'll write in the paper what's going to front run in the race and what's dropping out, where I'm drawn, where the favourite's drawn. So normally when you're kind of getting on your horse and going to post, you already have an idea in your head how the race is going to run and where everybody's going to sit.
Okay, so we're just talking about then. What I was going to go on to was, how do you study for a race? So aside from on the day getting the race in post, do you do some studying the night before?
Yeah, so we basically we know kind of where we're going to be 3 days in advance. So I'd quickly say by 11 o'clock today, obviously we've got no racing at the moment, but by 11 o'clock today I'd know where I'm going to be. So I'd have a quick look at the horses I'm riding and where I'm drawn, who I'm riding for, and kind of go from there, really.
Do you do other things to prepare? So I was going to sort of say, if I start with physically, how do you physically prepare? So you spoke about fitness before. Do you do lots of workouts? Do you go for runs? How do you get ready for racing?
I think the thing is, in the summer, you don't really have to, because you're riding every day and you're having lots of rides every day, so you don't really have to worry too much about that because you're keeping your fitness up every day. Whereas the winter, obviously, there's not as much racing. So you've got like Oaksley House, or the Peter Sullivan House, that a lot of jockeys would use to keep fit. I personally just do a lot of running. But I mean, I've tried everything, but I think it's a different fitness. Race riding is, like swimming's a different fitness. And I think until you're doing it every day and racing every day, you can't be fully fit. But it is good to go for a run and have a blowout.
Do you have to have some sort of flexibility to you? Do you have to stretch certain muscles to keep kind of supple at all, or is that not really part of it?
Yeah, yeah, you probably would. Obviously, before you kind of get on the horse at the meeting, I do obviously try and have a little stretch and stretch my legs off, but it'll be all of a 5-minute stretch. I'd be pretty lazy about that, And then you've got Sylvester de Souza. He can literally put his legs behind his ears.
The only reason I wanted was because I'm a trained dancer as well, so I get really tight hamstrings, but I'm just used to stretching before I ride, so I just wondered if you guys did it. But that's interesting. So you just say maybe like a little quick stretch before, or
yeah, it would be just a quick one.
And then like mentally preparing for a race, do you do anything like, I don't know, pamper yourself a couple of days before, just things to help you relax? I mean, being a girl, like wash your hair, get your hair done.
No, not at all. No, I mean, obviously, if you have a light weight, if you have a certain weight to make, then you would eat differently, or wouldn't kind of eat at all, like you'd miss dinner or something, or have to have a little sweat. But no, I mean, there's no washing hair or anything like that, or pampering.
That's not on the priority list.
No.
So when it's like a race day, just talking about food, do you have to sort of prepare, snacks for the day to keep you going, like nuts and proteins and things?
We're very lucky. We're very spoiled at the meetings at the race day. There is food, drinks, everything we need, and the majority of the time, if there's anything we really want, we ask for it. We get it. So,
what's the best ride you've seen from someone else?
Oh, okay. So this was really difficult because I think there's so many good rides out there that I've seen. I think like Jamie Spencer, when you watch him ride, he's very good at holding horses up and coming from the back. So I couldn't pick one specifically, but obviously I was very young, so I wouldn't have seen it at the time. But Frankie's Magnificent Seven, I just think he was like a man possessed. And I think when a jockey gets on a roll like that, you can't, they can't do anything wrong. You have a split second to choose the right gaps and what maneuvers you want to make, and everything felt right for him that day. To get 7 is unreal. To get 2 in a day, but to get 7 is that's top class, that is.
Well, my next question was someone you admire in the sport. So I suppose that would link in.
Yeah, obviously, no, there's a lot of people I admire for different reasons. Yeah, obviously, when I was a kid growing up, as a little girl, I looked up, obviously Frankie was one of them, but I looked up to the likes of Hayley Turner and Kathy Gannon. And the fact that I'm competing against them is unreal, because I never thought I'd be here. But yeah, no, I mean, Frankie, Ryan Moore, I just think, everybody's got something different about them.